I'm Bev Miller, and welcome to Addictions Unplugged. Each week, Dr. Vera Tarman will answer your questions and concerns about addiction. Tonight, we're going to be discussing how alcoholism and drug addiction affects the whole family. Joining Vera and myself on today's show is Heather Amisson, a family counselor for Renaissance. Both Vera and Heather are here to answer your questions regarding alcoholism and drug addiction, whether you're the one with the addiction or perhaps you're living with someone who suffers with one or both of these addictions and you're looking for guidance in how to cope. Please feel free to give us a call at 416-446-7090. So Dr. Vera.
Hi.
And Heather, welcome. Dr. Vera, can you give us a definition? What is addiction all about?
Well, you know, there's the long answer to what addiction is, and there's the short answer.
Hey, we've got an hour, so you know.
That's right. But I don't want to bore you with the whole medical side of it. I'm going to just start with the short answer.
All right.
The short answer is any kind of compulsive behavior, either ingesting something, drinking, using a drug, or even a behavior that there's no stop switch.
All right.
You know, we all like to do things, you know, but some of us like to do things a little too much, and we'll do them against our better judgment. Even when we don't want to do them, we'll still do them.
All right. So it doesn't have to be a bad thing, though. It doesn't have to be a bad behavior. Just anything that we compulsively do.
Yeah, like the actual behavior may not be bad. Like exercise is fine. Like what's wrong with exercise?
Right,
but
yeah.
you can actually have like an exercise addiction in the sense that if you're putting it ahead of your work, your family, your other goals, your other life aspect. And you don't want to. You, like, for example, somebody who's trying to exercise to maintain their weight or something like that.
Right.
I mean, they're doing it against their better judgment. And then you've got a situation where it's beginning to look like an addiction.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Is it genetic? Are we born with this, or do we develop it?
No, there's not really. Well, it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both. There is a genetic disposition that some people can have, for sure. But it's also you can get it if you do something and you lose sight of the rest of what you're doing. I mean, it can become an addiction. I think anybody has the potential to become an addiction, but some of us learn more quickly than others.
Okay, so one family member doesn't have it, another has it.
Yeah, so that's where we get into those questions, and I'm sure, Heather, you're asked that all the time. You know, why is it that one person has it and another person doesn't?
Right.
It's not, we can look at the psychology of it. Some people just have more resources that they can draw upon in stressful circumstances. But there appears to be a genetic component, and that some people will have blonde hair in a family and another person might not. Like it's just the luck of the draw to some degree.
Does it have anything to do with willpower?
Well, that's a very big question, and it depends on who you ask.
Because, you know, often we say, why can't you just stop? You know, just, you know, buck up, stiff upper lip kind of thing.
I think that every addict and every alcoholic has told themselves, I'm just going to stop. And a good, one of the actual cardinal signs of addiction is that they can't stop even though they've tried.
Right.
And so it's like one of the features. So you ask the person, have you tried to stop and you were not able to, or have you tried to cut down and you found that you could cut down for a little while, but then the willpower got lost? I mean, willpower always gets overrun by addiction.
You know, I remember a cute little saying, it's easy to stop smoking. I've done it 100 times.
Yes.
You know, kind of a thing. That's it.
That's exactly it. You hear that all the time. And that's the same with alcoholics too. You know, they've stopped so many times, but they can't stay stopped. There's something faulty about the stop button. It's a very useful way to see it.
Something faulty about the stop button. All right. Heather, let's bring you into this then. Can you give us an overall take on how addiction impacts the whole family then? Because it's not just a singular thing. You don't just, it's just not you addicted. It affects the whole family?
It does. The whole family becomes an addicted family system. And everyone will take on a role in that family to cope with chaos, the stress, anger, a lot of emotion. Addiction is behavioral also, so the family will go into high gear of control, and they will, where the addict may obsess about whatever they are choosing to use or exercise or eat, the family would obsess about that person. So they start controlling, mothering, managing, manipulating, all those things.
Trying to fix
Exactly, or control it.
Right.
And so the family can become very dysfunctional and does become very dysfunctional. Husbands, wives, partners of any kind, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, it doesn't matter.
So it's not just the immediate family.
Exactly.
Extended family. And
yes, so many people. One person with an addiction can affect many. And denial is a huge piece with the family member as well as the addict.
Right.
And, I wish I had seen when they were young, if I could have done something when they were teenagers. A lot of guilt and shame and fear, a lot of fear.
You mentioned the guilt. Is it often that family members, like a mother or father, will think, what did I do to bring this on?
A lot
it's
of
my fault.
Yes. What did I do wrong? And again, if I had have done something sooner, if I had have gotten them the help sooner, and quite often we want to help them sooner, but they don't want the help. So that's really frustrating for the family.
Right.
So, there's a lot of chasing and controlling and manipulating. And the family becomes very chaotic.
Chaotic.
Yeah.
That sounds scary.
Yeah.
There's that codependency thing.
Yes.
What is that all about?
So codependency is also the need to be needed, the need to fix, the need to control.
Yeah, because the person doesn't have a role, because they're usually neglected, other than as being the fixer.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the whole family becomes very codependent, and everybody's looking at everyone else instead of at themselves. So we'll talk, I don't know if we're going to talk about the family care part, but we really encourage family members to focus on themselves and to take care of themselves. Because if they're doing okay, it's about when you're flying and you put the oxygen mask on, you put it on yourself first as a parent or a caregiver, if you're with someone elderly or anybody, and you put the oxygen mask on first, and then you can help whoever you're with. So we really encourage family members to get help, educate yourselves about addiction and understand that it is a chronic disease, often relapsing, which Dr. Vera would talk about.
Fantastic. We have a caller. Kelly is on the line. Kelly, hello, welcome.
Hi, yes, and thank you for taking my call.
Absolutely. What is your question for Dr. Tarman and for Heather tonight?
My question is about my daughter. She's been through several programs and still going through programs, all of which we've supported her in, and have seen her through many, many very successful programs. Now it seems that she's doing one program and wanting to look for another halfway through that program, and it seems like she's wanting to avoid real life and real world and real situations. And if you even bring it up, this fear of, her eyes just bolt open, and it's like you've struck a real chord, so we avoid it. And it's not what I want to do, and I have this feeling that if she were able to pursue or start pursuing real life ambitions, and it seems like she wants to stay in this world protected, and to stay in programs forever and ever, and not get out there. And it's not like we haven't been very, very supportive of everything she's done, but it seems like now she's hiding behind it. And I'm just wondering how you broach that.
Well, it sounds to me like you're getting pretty frustrated yourself. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yeah, I don't want to hurt her or in any way make her afraid, but I just am frustrated now with the constant onslaught of programs that we get, sort of all of this paperwork thrown at us, and here's a whole bunch more I can do, instead of how I can get on with life.
Well, let me tell you a thought that I have, and then I'm going to give it to you, Heather, about what you might do as a family member. But the first thing that I think about is that your daughter she really likes the safety of it's like a bubble. It's an artificial bubble of safety, these treatment centers, the 3-week or even the 10-week programs. There's a lot of love and care, and even if you bicker amongst your residents, it's still a very protected space. You go out there in the world, and there's a stigma of addiction. There's no real appreciation of the difficulties that you as a new recovered person are dealing with. I mean, from that vantage point, it's quite understandable, and she probably does need some kind of help to step over the into a kind of bridge into the real world. But I'm thinking, Heather, you might want to say something to the mom.
Yeah, Kelly, have you done any family programs yourself for support?
I have, yes.
You have, eh?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Is your daughter an adult or a child?
She is. She's an adult.
Yeah. So, you know, it's little by little of letting go, and that's a challenge for you also, correct?
I was told and to make the boundaries, and I'm not good at that. And that's where I falter.
And that's the difficult part, is letting her go little by little, and ultimately she is an adult and she'll make her own choices. So for us as parents of addicts, it's very difficult to let them go and make those decisions and accept that she's going to do those things. And she may have to stay in those environments until she is actually ready to get out. And so that's going to be your challenge, is how do you respect that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a fine line, because I keep trying to introduce the thought of, you know, perhaps getting out and getting a part-time job and you know, doing it combined with the program. And that doesn't seem to be where her mind is at.
You know, Kelly, I do hear that often, is parents or partners really want the addict to get employment. And the truth of the matter is she's probably really not employable at this point. I mean, I don't know your daughter, but if she still needs to be in the safety of treatment, Dr. Tarman, I don't know if you agree with me, maybe, you know, really she's not ready to go out into the work environment. So Kelly, I would really encourage you, you know, there are supports out there ongoing, like Al-Anon and Nar-Anon, and family programs of such that you could get some support for yourself, and then slowly you learn to detach from your daughter.
If I could just ask, is part of the frustration that it's harder for you that she's in this position? Because you can step back and ask her to take care of herself. It's her journey. And if she's staying at your house, for example, and you want her to, you know, start to participate in life, you can ask her to, you know, there's only so much that I can do. I want you to, in whatever way you need to do that, treatment centers or whatever, I want you to find your own way.
I have been suggesting to her that, you know, at some point she is living with me, and at some point she will have to journey her way, as I will need to start I sort of put my life on hold so that she can pursue her programs.
Right.
And I don't want to do that forever.
No.
And I've been trying to slowly convince her that, you know, the two lives will need to be separated. And it's been very hard for her to accept that.
Kelly, you don't have to convince her. Tell her your bit and let her take her own path.
Right. We've got about 1 minute left. Can you sum up something here for Kelly?
You know, Kelly, there's places in the communities called transition homes, too. You could speak with your daughter about possibly going into one of those. And I think the hardest thing for parents, and especially moms, is to give a timeline. So saying to your daughter, you know, it is time, and I'm thinking, you know, you could give a timeline that you're comfortable with. I would never tell a parent to kick a child out of their home, but a timeline that you would be comfortable with, that you would like to see her go and investigate maybe transition homes or her own place, and support her that way.
Yeah, I think that's a great.
Excellent.
Great.
Okay. Well, you know, thank you so much, Kelly. We're going to have to move on from here because we're going to have to go to break. Thank you so much, ladies, for your answers. We'll be right back after the break with more help on Addictions Unplugged. Don't go anywhere.
Hi, I'm Val Cole from Daytime Toronto. For everyone here at Rogers TV, thank you to our hardworking volunteers for National Volunteer Week. Whether you're a camera operator, a makeup artist, or you're running the audio board, you make us look and sound great. Mwah, thank you.
Rob Stark is dead. A day will come when your joy will turn to ashes in your mouth. And you'll know the debt is paid.
I will do what queens do. I will rule.
Call 1-888-ROGERS-1 to order.
This could be the gateway to extraordinary things.
If there's anyone who can make it better, it's you.
What do you say?
What do you think?
You are the mayor of Crazy Town.
Call 1-888-ROGERS-1 to order.
Hi, I'm Shannon Skinner, host of Extraordinary Women TV. Join me every week as I speak with women who have the courage to listen to their hearts and make a difference.
It's been so awesome to be on your couch. Welcome back to Addictions Unplugged. I'm Bev Miller, and joining me each week is Dr. Vera Tarman. Today we're discussing and taking your questions on the impact alcohol and drug addictions have on families. Our special guest is Heather Amisson, a family counselor for Renaissance. And we've got more callers on the line. I believe we have Lisa. Lisa, you there?
Hi.
Hi, and welcome. What is your question?
I am an addict myself, and there is no denial left.
Okay.
It's run completely dry, and I don't want to be an addict. I'm addicted to painkillers and a sleeping pill. And also there's what I tried to wean off of the OxyContin, which I did actually 500 milligrams, and I went cold turkey because I just did not want to be an addict. I went through hell.
Yeah.
Then my husband got on Percocets for an undetermined amount of time, and I'll get to the point. I would take some of his, and I wanted to stop that, and was afraid of withdrawals. And now I'm not kidding you. If you go on some forums, you'll see that the new thing is loperamide, which is Imodium.
Yep.
And usually it does not cross the blood-brain barrier. However, taken in combination of a couple of household goods, which I'm not going to say in case somebody is an addict and wants to try that. It can get you high. Once my husband thought that I was back on the OxyContin, and I wasn't. It was the loperamide, which I was trying to get off the Percocet, but I ended up taking so much because it did cross the barrier. And that's something new that people are finding out.
So are you telling us so that to warn people about this? That this is
that's
new...
one. That's I would say just an extra. Yes, definitely. That is one thing to look out for, and But I am wanting treatment myself, and I don't know how to go about it. Like, I've gone to NA, but on nights like this, I have pain issues, and that's why I got OxyContin in the beginning, and horribly abused that. And so I told my doctor that I was an addict, and to please, don't give me anything opiate. I have pain issues, and they're at night, and I don't drive, and so I can't get to them every day or a lot of the times, though my heart is willing, but my body is not able to. I'm in my late 40s.
Lisa,
are
you still taking the opiates now?
I'm taking the loperamide, the Imodium, which is I'm trying to wean off of, and I took that to wean off of
the Percocets.
something else, and then I got addicted to that.
Right. And are you trying to get off of that too, or are you still wanting to take that because of pain?
Oh no. I am. It has terrible withdrawal symptoms. Terrible, and so I'm weaning off. I was taking 100 milligrams, and now I'm taking I think 20 milligrams a day.
So you're sort of tapering yourself off.
Yes. And I no longer get high off it. It's just in my system, which I cannot. It's horrible.
One thing, have you thought about just going to a detox? If you're living in Toronto, because this is a Toronto station, there's women's own detox where you are allowed to take medication, and you can try to detox yourself. And it's a fairly I don't know how comfortable it is, but it's a fairly safe environment, so that you don't have to do this on your own. If you're still on the drug, it's going to be harder to get into a treatment center, but if you're actually off of it, then there are treatment centers that are available.
So on doctor-prescribed benzodiazepines that I don't abuse, but they don't take you. I've already had called them.
That's right.
And they don't take you, and that will take, again, to do it humanely will take
a long time.
Quite a while.
Yeah, I can see that I can see the bind that you're in. The only thing I can suggest, if in terms of getting professional help, would be at a detox. You can do that. But short of that, I mean, I guess you're right. It's going to have to be outpatient care. And there are actually some programs, like a Jean Tweed program, where they're a little bit more willing to work with people who are on some substance. It might just mean phoning around and asking some of these centers if you're looking for residential care.
Around to so many, and then it's just I got to a point of just being so. Almost, I'm sorry, please don't get me wrong, but suicidal ideation started to come in because I don't want to be this. I don't want to be this. I don't want to do this. I'm married to a wonderful husband, and I see what I'm doing to him. I don't know why he's still with me. I love him so much, and he loves me so much, and our marriage has turned to me. It's all about me. You know, more, me,
Lisa,
me.
If it gets to the point where it sounds like it's getting to you, where you're so frustrated that you're almost suicidal, and this is a place that a lot of people go to, like you're not alone in this place, you may have to consider just at least taking the chance to just bite the bullet and stop and go into a treatment center, as much as you don't want to do that.
Lisa, we're really happy that you called, and you're just so courageous to have called to admit this. And so final words for Lisa, and then we have a few more callers.
I think you're in a limbo of you don't want to stop and you do want to stop, and I think that you're either going to have to stay where you are and I'm sorry, suffer it out, or just stop and see what happens. It's going to once you get through the withdrawal, it's going to be a lot better.
Okay. Lisa, be encouraged. Be so encouraged. Thank you so much for calling this evening, and keep watching the show for more help. All right? Okay. We have Keith on the line now. Keith, welcome.
Yeah, hi, how are you?
Hi, we're well. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Great. What is your question for Dr. Vera and Heather?
Well, my question is, I know that you mentioned earlier on about it being sort of in the family genes, and in my family, both my mom and my father's side, and I go back quite a few lives, and there was a lot of addicts. And how is that a big portion of it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I'm asking it right or not, but
yeah, no, I got you. Keith, did you say that both your mother and your father are addicts or alcoholics?
Yeah, like or addicts even with smoking too.
Well, that's
you know what I mean? But
sure.
Alcohol was main. Some of them, my uncles and stuff, were using drugs too. Yep. But as far as the word addiction, there was a lot on both sides.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely true that even having one parent that's an alcoholic or an addict, your chances are like half that you will be. And if two parents are, I think we're looking at the 60-70%. So of a risk factor. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you will become one yourself, but it certainly means that if you were to abuse it in any way, you're walking into dangerous territory. And I bet you see that quite a bit.
Yeah, I agree. If both parents are especially, then chances are you probably have some addiction issues. I'm not sure if you do or not, Keith, or if you're
predisposed anyway.
Yeah, predisposed for sure. We are trying to help young children now get educated about addiction. So because they are predisposed, so the sooner they are educated about addiction, then we can help them say no. The longer we can get children to say no to drugs or alcohol or cigarettes or eating a lot of sugar, any of those things, the less risk that they're going to pick up early and become addicts. So the longer you wait to pick up a drink or a drug, the less apt you are to be addicted. Do you have some thoughts that you could have issues, Keith, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, I do worry about it simply because I've heard that so many. It's funny. I hear some people say that, oh no, it's the individual, and then I hear some other people say, no, it has a lot to do with your family tree and your family history, and they're just sort of, even professionals, they sort of lean to either side, and I'm just trying to figure out, if it is true.
Well, I have many family members who have one child who's an addict, another child who is not. So it's hard to say.
It is hard to say. Keith, we want to thank you for your call this evening. Any final words? 30 seconds for Keith. Anything final?
I mean, maybe for for me, I would just suggest that if you want to know if you're an addict or not, I would maybe suggest an assessment to see if you have a substance abuse issue. And go from there. Maybe Dr. Vera has.
Well, I'm just going to say it's a loaded gun, You've got a loaded gun in your hand, and why play with fire? Be really careful, that's what I would say.
Be really careful. Thanks so much for your call, Keith. Thank you so much. Chris, we have Chris on the line now. Chris, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Wonderful. What is your question for us this evening?
I have a friend who divorced from his second wife in July. And for the past 9 months, all he can do is think about her and talk about her every single day, all day long. And at night, he has dreams about her. He's also developed an addiction to alcohol. He admits his addiction to her, but not his addiction to alcohol. And I'm wondering where he can get help.
Well, help for what? For the codependency that we're talking about, or for his drinking?
For, I guess it's the codependency with the wife.
Okay. Well, I'll give that to you, Heather.
Well, there is Codependence Anonymous. Just a private counselor would be helpful for him. An individual counselor, or even an addiction counselor, that would probably be the best because he does have some substance abuse issues anyway. Is he alcoholic? We don't know for sure. Maybe he doesn't know.
But he has admitted, am I right, Chris? He has admitted that he's got an issue with his girlfriend or his wife, right?
Yes, he has admitted
so
that.
he's open to hearing, and so that's why you want to go with that. But he is not open to hearing about the drinking. Right. So the suggestion that I'm going to make here is you say what your issue is. Look, Chris, or sorry, what's his name? Sorry? Well, look, no George. look, George. I'm concerned about your drinking, and then leave it at that, because you can't convince a person if they're not ready to hear. This is one of the things about denial. Just you tell them your limits. I don't like what you're doing. I'm worried about you, and then that's the end of it.
There's a child involved, so he's reluctant to go to a counselor. Right. He doesn't want to lose custody of the child.
That makes it difficult. What do you do in that circumstance?
I mean, also, for me, I'm a family counselor and I'm an addiction counselor also. And, it is confidential unless there is cause, if we hear of any neglect with a child or abuse, then we have due diligence to report, of course. But for him to just talk about his obsession to his girlfriend would, maybe lead to talking about his addiction to alcohol too.
It does make me think, if a child is involved and he's reluctant to talk, then he already knows something's up.
Yeah.
He already is suspecting something, and he just doesn't want to hear it. This is my guess.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, Chris, thank you so much for that call. We have a slew of calls this evening, and we're so pleased that you're willing to call in. We have Thomas on the line. Thomas, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
Wonderful. What is your question this evening?
My question is somewhat along the lines of opiate cleansing, if we shall call it that. And I've been to a few places. I've been down to CAMH, the new facility down in Toronto, and it was, well, in my opinion, it wasn't very well put together. It seemed to be in its infancy. Staff and everybody is wonderful, but things that would sort of help one get one's mind off of some of the things that are bothering you physically and mentally, like they had gyms and they had pools and whatnot, and you weren't allowed to use them, which was kind of, you know, trashy in a way, if you ask me. But I'm curious if anybody in the panel down there has heard of anything by the name of ayahuasca, which is a drug that's come out of Central or South America, which seems to have a claim to fame of rather immediate and non-withdrawal qualities to it.
Okay, well, Thomas, it sounds to me like you're a little bit familiar about this. I mean, Dr. Gabor Mate has been really talking a great deal about that substance. I mean, so this is for those of you who don't know what it is, it's a hallucinogen that you take, and the idea is that you take it under very controlled circumstances. You have a guide. You do this for over a period of a day to 3 days, something like that. You have some kind of hallucinatory experience from which you can then go from the place where you are that's making you want to use drugs to kind of shifting over into a different place thanks to the aid of the drugs. I mean, that's the theory, and there are lots of people you're going to find on the internet who swear by that it's great. Dr. Gabor Mate is a great proponent of that. I have not personally met anybody who's done that, and I'm going to tell you my bias as an addictions physician, that we said the same thing about LSD in the 60s, and look where that got us.
Yeah. I know that there's a great deal of study going on, and I just didn't know. I know of one place in Toronto that does do it, and I have been in touch with that gentleman, and he was a little bit hesitant about doing it, and the reason being was that cost was one thing, but that
it's
doesn't
not
seem
funded.
Well, it's not that. It's just like I could care less what it costs if you could just get over the hump of the pain of coming out of the addiction itself.
Yeah.
And I'd be curious to know also if cleaning the blood, or in other words, having I guess that's the only way I know how to put it, would be some sort of cleansing where they hook you up almost like dialysis or something like that.
Okay. Are you talking about the rapid opiate detox?
Yes.
Yeah, that's another thing too. And by the way, that was something that was medically, played around with, and the addiction sort of contingent has really kind of stepped on the other side of that, and they're not very supportive of that anymore. It was something that was done maybe 5 years ago. It's not really done anymore. There may still be a place here and there. It's very expensive, but it's frowned upon because it's not that successful. I've seen people who have taken that, and they've spent a lot of their money or their parents' money or somebody's money, it'll get you through the worst of the withdrawal, but you've still got another 2 or 3 or 4 weeks of feeling beat up, and what happens when you're feeling in that place and it goes on and on and on? I mean, 3 weeks of feeling like that, you end up taking some more perks to take off the edge, and then you're back to the addiction. I would not recommend that. I mean, if you got the money, you want to give it a try. If you can find a place, I think there might be somewhere in BC where you can still do it, but it's generally not considered that successful.
In the panel's opinion, where is there in Toronto that seems to be the place? I've heard of a place in Guelph where you can go and get cleaned out and whatnot. And
for this procedure, I'm not sure if there is any place in Toronto anymore. There used to be some place in Richmond Hill or something, but I don't know if it still exists.
Right.
Yeah.
So going through the steps is basically like what we have to work with right now in Toronto.
We've got detoxes. We've got all sorts of other opiate options: methadone, naltrexone, or Suboxone.